What's up guys, my name is Ryan and I've spent the last several years exploring the incredible country of Italy, and I want to show you my favorite places. So here's my Italy Top 100. I have to say there is no other country on earth that has as much history and natural beauty than Italy. From the seaside views of the Amalfi Coast to the jagged mountains of the Dolomites, Italy has it all. This video is going to be a long one, so I made timestamps of all the places in the description so you can jump around to your favorite destinations. Let's start this video off on the island of Sardinia. With some of Italy's best coastline, pristine beaches, and the clearest water you've ever seen, Sardinia is the place to be. It's the second largest island in the Mediterranean, and there's just so much going on there. One of the most impressive places on Sardinia is the Amalfi Coast. It's 40 kilometers of coastline that's made up of massive limestone cliffs and secluded beaches. The Amalfi Coast isn't the easiest place to reach. Most places require a hike or a boat ride. When I was there, we rented a boat and jetted off to explore the coast. The main reason I wanted to go to Sardinia was to visit Cala Golorizze. I think it's easily one of the most beautiful beaches in all of Italy. It has these massive pointy rock formations coupled with green cliffs and Gatorade blue water. We anchored and immediately went for a swim. I mean, the visibility was absolutely incredible. It's some of the best I've ever swam in. Another reason I wanted to go to Cala Golorizze is because there's a sea arch where you can cliff jump. I sent a few jumps off and it was just so much fun. I mean, there's no better feeling than sending a gainer into the ocean. After Sardinia, we're going to head up to northern Italy to visit Lake Como. Now located at the base of the Alps, Lake Como is a sight to see. One of my favorite places on Lake Como is Verona. It's easily one of the most idyllic places I've ever been to. Verona was founded all the way back in the 8th century by local fishermen. I stayed several nights here and it was such an enjoyable and relaxing time. I love walking around the village through all its cobblestone alleyways. There's a great plaza and an impressive church. Now, one of my favorite places I went to in Verona was its northern shore. There's restaurants and a little stone beach where you can watch the small waves roll in, accompanied by some of Lake Como's majestic swans. Another beautiful place on Lake Como is Bellagio. Now, located at the wide junction on the lake, Bellagio is often referred to as the Pearl of Lake Como. My wife and I took a ferry to get there from the town of Verona. It was a beautiful place to stroll around and enjoy the picturesque town and waterfront. Afterwards, we're going to head down to the Italian Riviera. Now, also known as the region of Liguria, the Italian Riviera is a small crescent-shaped region that extends to France. The very end of the Italian Riviera on the Italian side is Cinque Terre. Now, Cinque Terre is made up of 5 seaside villages that date back to medieval times. Now, you can't drive to the towns of Cinque Terre, but you can take a train from the town of Spezia. Now, the most northern and largest village in the Cinque Terre is Monterosso al Mare. Now, I say it's probably one of the less popular places in the Cinque Terre, but it's definitely worth a visit. It has a wonderful beach and incredible views of the Riviera. Now, the next village south is Vernazza. It's probably my favorite village on the Cinque Terre, and it has the only natural port of the 5 towns. It remains one of the truest fishing villages on the Italian Riviera. I was here in August and I'll have to say it was freaking packed, so maybe come here not during the summer months. Now, another one of my favorite towns on the Cinque Terre is Manarola. I really enjoyed walking around the town. You can get some great vantage points. Now, one thing I really liked about Manarola is that it had a great area to swim in. It was sheltered from the waves. There are also rocks you can cliff jump from. Now, right next door to Manarola is Rio Maggiore. Now, it's the most southern town on Cinque Terre, and it's one of the more ideal locations to stay, offering a lot of options for housing, eating, and activities. I mean, it's just hard to beat the colors and vibes of these towns. Now, another one of my favorite towns on the Italian Riviera is Portofino. Now, this may be one of the most idyllic towns on the Italian coast. It's renowned worldwide for its picturesque harbor and has been a retreat for royalty and artists as far back as the 12th century. I tried to go here during the peak of the summer, but I got turned back because there was no parking. So once again, I definitely recommend coming during the less popular months or early in the morning. Regardless, it's a beautiful place that deserves a visit. Now, an amazing beach near Portofino is San Fruttuoso. Now, there's no roads leading here. It can only be accessed by boat or an hour-and-a-half hike from Portofino. The cove features a 10th century abbey and a statue of Christ that is submerged 50 meters under the sea. After, let's head over to the iconic city of Venice. Now, Venice is one of the world's most unique cities. There are no roads and just canals to get around. It's made up of 118 islands and they are linked by over 400 bridges. Venice was a major financial and maritime power during the medieval ages, and today it's one of Europe's most popular tourist destinations. When you're there, you can take a ride down the canals on a gondola, or you can check out St. Mark's Square. It's a one-of-a-kind location I hope you all can see. Afterwards, we're going to head over to Valdobbiadene. Now, located about an hour's drive from Venice, Valdobbiadene is a wine-growing region famous for making Prosecco white wine. The area is full of lush vineyards and rolling hills dotted with tranquil villages. One of my favorites is the village of Gia, located just a few minutes outside of Valdobbiadene. I mean, this region is just absolutely magical. Now, afterwards, we're going to visit Lake Garda. Now, located right between Venice and Milan, Lake Garda is the biggest lake in all of Italy. I drove around it and I can attest that it's absolutely huge. It's sandwiched between two mountains and home to numerous towns along its coast. The southern end is home to the Castello Scagliero. Now, built in the 14th century, it stands as one of Italy's best preserved castles. My favorite feature is its fortified dock, which offered shelter to Venetian fleets. To the east of Lake Garda is Monte Baldo. It's a mountain range that overlooks the lake. You can take a gondola up from the lakeside town of Malsicine, and once you reach the top, you can hike around and enjoy the incredible views. Another fascinating nearby place is the Madonna della Corona Santuario. Now, it's this church that's built out of the side of a cliff. The church was built all the way back in 1530 and served as a place to pay pilgrimage and enjoy the nature of God in peace. Now, to get to the chapel, you can park in the town of Spiazze above and make this short hike down. Italy is just full of the world's most scenic churches. Now, right next to Lake Garda is the beautiful city of Verona. Famous for being the setting of Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet, Verona is a beautiful medieval town. I just love how the river cuts through the town. It's home to the Verona Arena, which is an ancient Roman amphitheater. It's where the closing ceremony of the 2026 Winter Olympics will be held. After, we're going to visit Bologna. Now, located about a 2 hours drive from Verona, Bologna is one of the wealthiest cities in Italy and the 7th most populous, with a population around 400,000. What I love about Bologna is its medieval towers. They were constructed back in the 12th and 13th centuries, with the highest being over 300 feet tall. Back in medieval times, there were an estimated 180 towers which dominated the city. Over the centuries, many towers were demolished or simply collapsed, and today fewer than 20 towers remain. The most famous are the two towers. The tallest tower reaches over 97 meters with an overhang of 2.2 meters. I mean, they're both leaning a little bit. They look like they're going to collapse. I just can't imagine all the history these towers must have experienced throughout the ages. After, we're going to visit the magnificent city of Milan. Located in the Lombardy region, Milan is a powerhouse of a city. It has the second largest economy in the EU after Paris. It's one of the world's 4 fashion capitals. The city is full of a mixture of modern skyscrapers and apartment buildings. One of the most notable features of the city is the Duomo di Milano. The construction began in 1386 and it took over 6 centuries to complete. It stands as the second largest church in Europe and the 4th largest in the world. I mean, that just blows my mind. If you want to go shopping, you can visit the oldest active shopping mall in the world that was built back in 1877. I just can't believe the domed glass roof there. After, we're going to head to Lake Maggiore. Now, located about an hour and a half drive from Milan, this is the second largest lake in Italy, with its northern section in Switzerland. Lake Maggiore definitely reminds me of Lake Como. One thing I love about the lake is all its castles and unique architecture. Now, right next door is another beautiful lake called Lake Lugano. Now, just like Lake Maggiore, Lake Lugano is located in both Italy and Switzerland. The Italian-Swiss border around the lake is super interesting, with even a complete Italian city called Campione d'Italia being surrounded by Switzerland. Another cool Italian city on the lake is Lake Avena Ponte Teresa, which sits right across the water from Switzerland. If you want to get a great view of the lake, you can visit the Ciganola Peak, which offers incredible 360 views of the area. After, we're going to head over to the region of the Aosta Valley. Nestled in the Italian Alps, Aosta Valley is the smallest and least populated region in all of Italy. What I love about Aosta is that it's surrounded by Europe's highest mountains such as Mont Blanc, Now, one of my favorite places in the region is Cervina. It's an alpine ski resort and is overlooked by the Italian side of the iconic Matterhorn Mountain, which is also called Monte Cervino. Now, special thanks to my friend Dronescapes for sharing his footage. He has some of the best aerial films of Italy, and I'll link his channel in the description below. Now, what I love about Cervina is that the ski resort connects to Switzerland, so you could ski in 2 countries in one day. Now, it's pretty awesome if you ask me. Now, while we're still in the area, we're going to visit the Great St. Bernard Pass. It connects Aosta to the canton of Valais in Switzerland. Now, it's one of the most ancient passes in the Alps with a fascinating history. The pass was used as far back as the Bronze Age, and in 1800, Napoleon Bonaparte traversed it with over 40,000 soldiers. The pass is where St. Bernard dogs were trained by monks to find lost travelers. I mean, it's fascinating to think of all the history that has taken place on this mountain pass. Another great mountain drive is the Stelvio Pass. Located in the Ortler Alps, the Stelvio Pass is the second highest paved road in the Alps with an elevation of 2,757 meters. During World War I, fierce battles were fought here between the Austro-Hungarian Empire and the Italian Kingdom. Today, the Stelvio Pass is a popular place for drivers to test their skills with over 75 hairpin turns. After, we're going to head over to the city of Tirano. Located about an hour away from the Stelvio Pass, Tirano is a tranquil town. The city is well known for being the departure point for the Bernina Express. This may be considered the most scenic train route in all of Europe. The train starts in Tirano and travels across alpine passes into Switzerland. It's like the real-life Polar Express. I'd love to ride this train one day. Now, after, we're going to visit the Falaria Glacier. I have to say, this is one of the most beautiful glaciers in all of Italy. It's just absolutely massive and has a picturesque waterfall cascading down to the glacier below. After, we're going to head over to the region of Piedmont. Now, located at the foot of the Italian Alps, Piedmont borders France and Switzerland and is famous for its scenery, wines, and cuisine. Now, the capital of Piedmont is Turin. It's known for its Baroque architecture and major landmark called Mole Antoniana, which towers the city skyline. Turin is also known as Italy's first capital city before the national headquarters were moved to Rome. Now, another really cool nearby place is Sacra di San Michele. It's located about 45 minutes from Turin. It's known as the symbolic monument of the Piedmont region, and the foundation of the abbey was set in the year 966 and completed in the 13th century. Now, if you want to escape into nature, you could visit the Cascata del Pis. It's located about an hour and a half from Turin and about a 3-kilometer round-trip hike. The waterfall is massive as it descends down the Italian Alps. Now, if you're into wines, you can visit the hilly area of Langhe. It's full of rolling vineyards and hilltop towns. The region is famous for its wines, cheeses, and truffles, particularly the white truffles of Alba. Now, I also love the castles that dot the hills. One of my favorites is the 14th century castle of Serralunga de Alba. Afterwards, we're going to head over to visit the island of Ponza. Now, before the summer, I had no idea this island existed, but after seeing some videos of this place, I had to go see it in person. It's located off the west coast of Italy, and it took about a 2-hour ferry ride to get there. Now, Ponza is full of history. It was a popular island during Roman times with many ruins and tunnels that still exist today. One of the best ways to see Ponza is by boat. We rented one and cruised around the whole island. I was just baffled by the volcanic cliffs and endless coves and grottos. One of my favorite memories of the island was just anchoring in this little cove and spending hours there swimming and enjoying the Mediterranean sun. It's just hard to beat that lifestyle. One of the most famous places on the island is Chaya di Luna Beach. It's known for its massive white cliffs and a beach shaped like the crescent moon. You can get there by boat, or there is an ancient Roman tunnel you can walk through. I just can't believe how big the cliffs are. Ponza is such a special island. After, we're going to head back to Sardinia to visit Porto Flavia. It's located about an hour's drive from Cagliari. Now, Porto Flavia is an incredibly beautiful harbor with a unique mine that has a tunnel coming out of a cliff to transport minerals into a boat. It was completed in 1924 and was quite the engineering feat. And just such a unique location, and it doesn't even look real to me. Now, another cool place in Sardinia is the area around the Tavolara Island. It's just about a 30-minute drive from Olbia, and this is where I stayed during my time in Sardinia. The island is pretty big and is a perfect place to boat around and snorkel. There's also great beaches such as Porto Taverna that offers great views of the Tavolar Island. Now another cool spot on Sardinia's northern coast is Cala Spinosa. It's located about an hour's drive from Olbia, and you'll be able to see Corsica from there. The beach is really beautiful with its boulders contrasted with crystal blue waters. I mean, it's hard to beat Sardinia's countless Mediterranean coves. After Sardinia, we're going to northern Italy to visit the Dolomites. I spent several weeks exploring the Dolomites, and I consider it to be some of the greatest days of my life. One of my favorite places in the Dolomites is Seceda. The green grass slopes contrasted with the jagged mountain ridge makes for one of the most unbelievable landscape combos in the world. Now to get to Seceda, I took 2 gondolas up the mountain and made it to the top. When I got there, the clouds covered half the mountain, making it for one of the best views I've ever gotten. I mean, places like this just really spark your imagination and make you feel like a kid again. I hope everyone can witness the power of Seceda at least once in a life. Now another magical place nearby is Alpe Susi. It's home to the largest high alpine meadow in Europe. The backdrop of the Sassolungo mountain with the farm huts creates a scene straight out of a dream. Now the mountains that you see in Alpe Susi are called the Sassolungo group. It's one of the most impressive massives I've ever seen. When I was there, I decided to take a one-man chairlift up to the top, and I was blown away by the views. I like to call this place the Black Gates of Mortar because that's what it reminded me of. Anyways, there's a little refuge on top, and it's a great place to go climbing and exploring. When I got down to the bottom, I drove around the area to see if I could catch the sunset, and I was able to get some of the most dramatic shots that I've ever taken. Now while you're there, you can take a drive on the Gardena Pass. It connects Val Gardena to Val Badia, and it's definitely one of Italy's most beautiful drives as you're surrounded by mountains on both sides. I mean, road trips don't get much better than cruising through the Dolomites. One of the most beautiful valleys in the Dolomites is Val de Funes. I remember seeing pictures of this place before I ever went to the Dolomites, and I just couldn't believe it was real. The valley is home to some of Italy's most beautiful churches, surrounded by scenery straight out of a fairy tale. When I was there, the mountains were covered by the clouds, but I still was able to witness one of the valley's most picturesque churches. I mean, truly an incredible spot. Now after, we're going to head over to Lago di Bre. Now this is probably the most popular lake in all the Dolomites. It's a milky blue color with a backdrop of towering mountains. When I was here, I hadn't showered in days, so I decided to take a plunge in the lake. Nothing makes you feel more alive than jumping into some glacial water. If you come, you can walk around the rim of the lake or even take a boat out. I mean, it's really a special place. Another great mountain pass is the Passo Giao. The top of the pass is located about 30 minutes outside of Cortina d'Ampezzo. One of my favorite features of the pass is the view of the Ra Gustula Peak. It marks the highest point of the pass and towers over a hotel and restaurant. Now another really cool spot in the area is called Cinque Torri. Now it's a set of 5 rock towers that poke out of the mountain. You can hike there from the Gal Pass, but a more easier route would be to take the chairlift from Baiti ba da Donnes. The Cinque Torri is also where a World War I conflict took place between Italians and Austro-Hungarian troops. Another spectacular spot in the area is Lago Federa. It's about a 10-kilometer hike to the lake, and you'll be rewarded with unbelievable views. If you go in October, the larches around the lake may have turned a stunning gold color. Now, another incredible rock formations in the Dolomites is the Vajolette Towers. It's a set of rock spires in the Catenaccio mountain group. The hike to the towers is somewhat challenging, but well worth the effort. It makes for a great day hike, and you can also spend the night at the refuge right at the base of the towers. Now, one of my favorite lakes in the Dolomites is Lago di Sorapis. Now, I guess you could call it the little brother of Lago di Bre. It's this little alpine lake with striking milky blue colors. The hike to get there is around 11 kilometers round trip, and even though it's a little challenging getting there, the alpine lake is well worth the trek. Now, one of the most iconic places in the Dolomites is Tre Cime di Lavaredo. It's a set of 3 massive rock pillars that tower over the landscape. I love this area so much that I spent 4 days exploring here. I did one of the most epic sunrise missions of my life as I reached the top of the mountain to watch the sun slowly light up the Tre Cime di Lavaredo rocks. There's also this incredible area I like to call Mordor because it looks like something straight out of Lord of the Rings. I stumbled upon this place by accident. I found some random tunnels that were used during World War I and had one of the most memorable sunsets of my life running around here. I mean, it's truly a magical place. After hiking in the Dolomites, we're going to visit Italy's capital, Rome. Now, Rome may be one of the most famous and iconic capitals in the world. Its history spans over 28 centuries, with its founding taking place in 753 BC. Ancient Rome's architecture stands today and draws millions of tourists each year. One of the most well-known structures of the capital is the Colosseum. It's this oval-shaped amphitheater that was completed in 80 AD. It was the largest amphitheater built and could hold anywhere from 50 to 80,000 spectators. You can just marvel its structure from the outside or take a guided tour to witness the interior. One of my favorite attractions is the Trevi Fountain. It's a Baroque-styled fountain that was built in 1762. I mean, there's just so much to see in Rome. I hope you can all visit it one day. While we're still in Rome, we're going to head over to the smallest country in the world to visit Vatican City. Now, this country is completely surrounded by Rome. The Vatican is the headquarters of the Roman Catholic Church and home to the Pope. The population is made up of only 800 people. It was founded over 90 years ago on February 11, 1929. The St. Peter's Basilica is possibly the most magnificent building in the world. It's the world's largest church, and when you go inside, the detail is mind-blowing. Architects such as Michelangelo helped design it, and construction began in 1506 and was consecrated 120 years later in 1626. An interesting nearby town is Calcatta Vecchia. Now, it's located about an hour outside of Rome. This small commune is built on a volcanic tuff, and in the 1930s, the town was condemned by the government due to the risk of the cliffs collapsing, but in the 1960s, the city began to be repopulated by artists and hippies who began to restore this medieval town. After, we're going to visit Civita di Bagnoregio. When it comes to hilltop towns, this may be one of my favorites. Situated in the Valley of the Badlands, this medieval town was founded over 2,500 years ago. Due to erosion and earthquakes, Civita has been named the Dying Town. Today, only 12 people live here, but it has received a recent revival in tourism. I mean, such a fascinating little town. Afterwards, we're going to head down south to visit Naples. Now, shadowed over by Mount Vesuvius, Naples is a historical town dating back to Roman times. Naples is the third largest city in Italy after Rome and Milan, and is called after its Greek name Neapolis, meaning new city. Now, what's so great about Naples is that it's close to so many beautiful sites and cities. From Naples, you can make the 20-minute drive to witness the ruins of Pompeii. Now, Pompeii was founded in the 6th century BC, but in 79 AD, the city was buried under 6 meters of volcanic ash after Mount Vesuvius erupted. The ash almost perfectly preserved the town, allowing us to get a glimpse at Roman life. I mean, it's definitely one of the greatest archaeological sites in Italy and the world. Now, there are several islands off of Naples, such as Ischia. Now, Ischia is known as one of the most picturesque islands within the Bay of Naples. It's also the most developed and largest island within the bay. I love the Aragonese castle on the island there. Now, right next to Ischia is the colorful island of Procida. It's the smallest island in the bay and less touristy compared to the other islands. It was featured in the movie The Talented Mr. Ripley and also won the Italian Capital of Culture. I mean, such a charming little island. Now, afterwards, we're going to visit the nearby Amalfi Coast. I have to say, this is one of the most beautiful places, not just in Italy, but all of Europe. The Amalfi Coast is located in southern Italy, about a 3-hour drive from Rome. It's just hard to believe this place exists. One of my favorite places on the Amalfi Coast is Fiordo di Furore. This is one of the coolest beaches I've ever been to. It's located in this little fjord, complemented with an incredible arch bridge. It's a true paradise for cliff jumping. There's tons of spots you can jump from different heights. I had such a fun time setting some flips into the sea. The water felt so good to be in. Honestly, such an incredible spot. You gotta visit while you're on the Amalfi Coast. After Furore, we're going to take a walk on the Path of the Gods. This is a super famous hike, and with reason. You'll get some of the best views of the Amalfi Coast when you do this hike. Now, you start in this town called Bomorano and end in the village called Nocelle. All in all, the hike is about 8 kilometers long. It takes you about 3 hours to do. On the hike, you'll have incredible views basically the whole way. There's tons of ancient houses and hillside farms contrasted with the views of the coast. It's basically all downhill, which is super nice. If you do the hike, I definitely recommend doing it early to avoid the heat and the crowds. It can get freaking hot up there. Now, afterwards, we're going to visit Positano. Now this may be the most popular place on the Amalfi Coast, and when you go there you'll understand why. It's full of beautiful colored buildings, shops, and a scenic beach. One of my favorite things I did in Positano was rent a boat. It's the perfect way to escape the crowds, and you'll get the best views of the Amalfi Coast. It cost about 180 euros to rent a boat for 3 hours, and while it was a little pricey, it was 100% worth it. We were able to cruise all over the coast and make stops along the way just to soak in the sun and jump into the sea to do some snorkeling. So I definitely recommend visiting Positano, and if you can, rent a boat. After cruising around Positano, we're going to visit the city of Amalfi. It's a beautiful town located in a ravine surrounded by daunting cliffs. Now, during medieval times, Amalfi was the capital of the maritime republic known as the Duchy of Amalfi and was an important trading power from the 9th to 12th centuries. While we were there, we explored the town. I really enjoyed the public square with all its restaurants, shops, and beautiful church. I mean, just such an incredible city. Afterwards, we're going to visit the small town of Atrani. Now, it's located right next to Amalfi, and I have to say that Atrani is one of my favorite looking towns in all the coast. The road that goes through it is just so unique, especially the part that winds around with its beautiful arches. A fun fact is that Atrani is the smallest city in all of Italy with a population around 800. I went inside the town, and honestly there wasn't too much to see, but it said that Atrani is the only town along the coast that preserved its antique traditional characteristics. Another feature I really liked about the city was its beach. I mean, just a perfect place to soak up some Mediterranean sun. Afterwards, we're going to drive up the mountains to visit Ravello. Now, this is one of the highest set towns on the Amalfi Coast, as it's located 365 meters above sea level. Ravello was founded all the way back in the 5th century, and it was where the King of Italy lived for a while during World War II. I was pleasantly surprised by Ravello. I mean, it's just such a charming town. Now, while you're in Ravello, you can walk in alleyways or spend some time eating gelato in the public square. Definitely one of my favorite towns on the Amalfi Coast. Now afterwards, we're going to visit Praiano. Now situated right between Positano and Amalfi, we stayed several days here in an Airbnb, and I really enjoyed it. It's not nearly as touristy as Positano, so I think it's a great place to stay if you come to the Amalfi Coast. Now while we were in Praiano, one fun thing we did is we walked down to the Spiaggia di Praia. You go through some narrow pathways, and we made it down to the beach. It's a great place to chill and swim. I also rented a boat here for sunset, and I just can't say enough. If you're on the Amalfi Coast, you gotta rent a boat. I mean, it may be a little expensive, but trust me, you're not gonna regret it. You'll get the best views, and you're secluded on your boat away from all the clouds, and you really get to soak in the beauty of the coastline. While we were out there boating, I mean, it didn't even feel real. The scenery is just some of the most beautiful on earth. It's truly mind-blowing. Now, just off the Amalfi Coast, there's an incredible island called Capri. I think it's easily one of the most beautiful islands in the world. I mean, it's a classic Mediterranean island surrounded by crystal clear water and sheer cliffs. One of my favorite features of Capri is the Faraglioni. There are these incredible sea stacks that jut right out of the sea, and I just had such a good time jumping off the boat there and marveling at the Faraglioni. Another incredible spot on the island is Monte Solaro. It's the highest point on Capri, and you can take a chairlift to the top. You can do some little hikes up there, and you'll get some incredible panoramic views of the whole island, and I couldn't recommend it enough. Now after, we're going to visit the region of Umbria. Now located right in the center of Italy, I think Umbria is definitely overlooked as it's next to more popular regions such as Tuscany, but don't get me wrong, Umbria is full of hidden treasures. Now the capital of Umbria is Perugia. Now located about 2 hours from Rome, Perugia was founded all the way back during Etruscan times, which was around 300 BC. Today, it's a beautifully preserved medieval town with a lively student population thanks to the University of Perugia, which was founded in 1308. I really like the central plaza with its 13th century fountain. especially to people who aren't from Italy. Now while you're in Vieste, you can enjoy the beauty of the Gargano National Park. You can make the 15-minute drive down the coast to experience incredible limestone cliffs. One of my favorites is the Arch of San Felice. And Vieste and the Gargano Peninsula are hidden gems that deserve a visit. Now afterwards, we're going to visit the nearby Tremiti Islands, or Isole Tremite. Now located in the Adriatic Sea, the archipelago is made up of 5 islands that are also part of the Gargano National Park. During Roman times, Augustus had his granddaughter sent here for over 20 years, and during Mussolini's regime, it acted as a prison. Now today, the archipelago is a popular tourist destination. The islands are full of endless coves, perfect for boating and snorkeling. You can get there by taking a ferry from cities such as Vieste or Tremoli, and it's definitely a place to add to your Italian bucket list. After, we're going to visit the region of Puglia. Now located on the boot hill of Italy, Puglia is a region famous for its whitewashed towns and magnificent coastline. The capital of the region is Bari. Now while I don't think it's the most beautiful town in Puglia, it's a great base to start and explore the cities of the region. One of my favorite places in Puglia is Pitilignano Carrara. It's a stunning town right on the Adriatic coast. What I love about it is how the city is built right on the sea cliffs. I mean, they're just on there so perfectly that it looks like they're gonna fall off. There's some restaurants built into the caves on the sea cliffs. I mean, it's just such a cool spot. One of the most famous places in the city is Cala Porto. It's probably the most recognized place in all of Puglia. It's a stunning beach that's surrounded by cliffs, coupled with crystal clear Mediterranean water. I mean, just pure paradise there. Another famous town in the region is Alberobello. Now believed to be founded around the 14th century, Alberobello has grown in popularity thanks to its uniquely shaped houses called trulli. The trulli are these whitewash houses with cone-shaped roofs. It's the largest collection of them in the world with over 1,400. Now they are made of limestone from nearby rock beds without any mortar or cement. There are some theories of why they built the trulli in such a unique way. Some speculate it was an elaborate form of tax evasion. Since you had to pay taxes to the king, you had a permanent dwelling, and they found a loophole since the trulli didn't have cement and could be dismantled quickly if you needed to. I mean, you gotta love some medieval tax evasion. Afterwards, we're gonna visit Matera. Now you may recognize this town in the most recent James Bond film. Matera is known all around the world for its unique cave dwellings and striking architecture. It's believed that Matera was founded over 9,000 years ago, making it one of the oldest continuously inhabited settlements on the planet. To date, Matera is one of Italy's best kept secrets and definitely a town worth visiting. Another beautiful town in Puglia is Locorotondo. It's located just 9 minutes from Alberobello. This quaint village has been listed as one of Italy's most beautiful. It sits on a hill and overlooks the Itria Valley. Now right next to Locorotondo is the town of Martina Franca. Similar to a lot of other towns in Puglia, Martina Franca rests on top of a hill and is full of historic whitewash buildings. The town's jewel is its historic center full of winding alleys, Baroque architecture, and stunning churches. Now afterwards, we're going to visit Taranto. Now located about 40 minutes from Martina Franca, Taranto was founded by the Spartans in the 8th century BC, and by the 5th century BC, it was one of the largest cities in the world with a population of over 300,000, which was a ton for back then. Now today, it's one of the biggest cities in southern Italy. One of my favorite features is the Castello Aragonese. It was built in 1496 and was used as a fortress and prison. Now one of my favorite places in Puglia is Ostuni. Now located about an hour's drive from Bari, Ostuni is famous for its whitewashed old towns with a maze of alleyways, staircases, and arches. I mean, when you drive here, you'll be able to see Ostuni from a distance as it's strategically built upon a hill. Now from the city, you can see the Adriatic Sea and groves of green olive trees. Now afterwards, we're going to visit the region of Calabria. Now located right on Italy's toe, Calabria is home to some of Italy's best beaches and coastal towns. One of the most beautiful beaches in Calabria is Capo Vaticano. Now it's these incredible coastal cliffs with rock-like fingers that dip into the sea. It's full of beaches and difficult to access coves, perfect for snorkeling or boating. I mean, I definitely want to swim here next summer. Now another amazing beach in Calabria is Arco Magno. It's this hidden beach with an arch that leads to the sea. Now after, we're going to visit Tropea. Now I think it's definitely one of the most underrated towns in Italy. Tropea is perched upon a cliff overlooking the Tyrrhenian Sea. Legends say that the city was founded by Hercules. Today it has been named one of Italy's most beautiful villages, and I can totally understand why. While you're there, you can relax on the Marausa beach and marvel at the contrast between the Mediterranean Sea and the buildings on the cliff's edge. Another beautiful coastal town in Calabria is Scilla. The town's name comes from the mythological young nymph named Scilla, who was turned into a six-headed dog monster who would attack ships crossing the Strait of Messina. Now today it's a beautiful seaside town, home to a beautiful beach and colorful Italian homes that line the coast. Now after, we're going to visit the hilltop town of Gerace. Now located about 15 minutes above the coastal town of Locri, Gerace is a perfectly preserved medieval commune full of history and charm. It's believed that a sparrowhawk led a group of fleeing inhabitants to the mountains who ended up building Gerace. It once had 128 churches and many still stand today. Now another beautiful hilltop town in the region is Bova. Now located 900 meters above sea level, Bova is an intriguing town set back in time. It's one of the few Greek-speaking villages in all of Italy. Throughout the centuries, it experienced many attacks and trials such as plagues in the 16th century and bombings during World War II. Today, it's a scenic mountain town that is sure to take you back in time. Afterwards, we're going to head over to the nearby island of Sicily. Now Sicily is the largest island in the Mediterranean. It's just full of culture and fascinating history. The capital of Sicily is Palermo. Now located on the northwest coast of the island, it was founded all the way back in 734 BC by the Phoenicians. It's an incredible city full of beautiful churches and scenery. Now about an hour's drive from Palermo is Cefalu. Now this may be one of my favorite cities in Sicily. I just love how it's built right between a cliff and the sea. Now, one of the most prominent features of Cefalu is its cathedral, which is constructed around 1131 AD. While we're still in Sicily, we're going to head over to the city of Catania. What's crazy about Catania is that it lies at the base of the massive Mount Etna volcano, which is 3,326 meters tall. It's one of the world's most active volcanoes. I'm just wild to see the ash shooting out the top. I mean, what a crazy yet beautiful city. Another beautiful nearby town is Taormina. Now, like Catania, Taormina offers astounding views of Mount Etna. I just love how the city is perfectly placed on a hill, but also offers incredible beaches and seaside coves below. I really like the island called Isola Bella. Afterwards, we're going to visit the city of Syracuse. Now, this may be one of the most historic cities in all of Sicily. Syracuse was founded by ancient Greek Corinthians about 2,700 years ago and was described by Cicero as the greatest Greek city and the most beautiful of them all. It became part of the Roman Republic and also was the capital of the Byzantine Empire for a few years. The Apostle Paul also spent some time here. Today you can see many ancient ruins such as the Greek Theater. An interesting feature of Syracuse is the Castello Maniace. It was completed in the year 1240 and has such a unique shape as it extends into the sea. One of the most impressive places on the island is the Valley of the Temples. Located in the town of Agrigento, it's one of the world's most stunning examples of Greek architecture. There were 7 temples built here by the Greeks in the 5th century BC. Unfortunately, they were burnt down by the Carthaginians, but rebuilt by the Romans 4 centuries later. One of the most well-preserved is the Temple of Concordia. It features the classic Greek pillars, and it just makes you wonder what this must have looked like when it was first built. Another fascinating attraction in Sicily is the Stairs of the Turks. It's these white limestone cliffs with an impressive beach. I'd love to spend a hot afternoon there basking in the sun. Afterwards, we're going to visit the nearby Aeolian Islands. Now made up of 7 islands, this volcanic archipelago is located off the north coast of Sicily. The best way to reach the islands is by taking a ferry from the town of Milazzo. I mean, I'd love to spend next summer sailing around and hiking these spectacular volcanic islands. Now, another stunning island off of Sicily is Lampedusa. Now, located right in between Malta and Tunisia, it is the southernmost place in all of Italy. This Italian island is full of Mediterranean views and crystal clear waters. And to get there, you can take a ferry from Sicily or by plane. The island's Rabbit Beach has been voted one of the best in the world, so definitely add that to your bucket list. Afterwards, we're going to visit the incredible region of Tuscany. Now located in central Italy, Tuscany is known for its landscapes, history, and artistic legacy. I mean, I've been obsessed with Tuscany ever since I've seen The Gladiator. It's a land full of rolling golden hills dotted with countless little hilltop towns. I mean, it'd just be so cool to retire here and live on a Tuscan farm. One of my favorite cities in Tuscany is San Gimignano. Now located about an hour's drive from Florence, San Gimignano is a stunning medieval city perched upon a hill. One of the most iconic features of the city is its medieval watchtowers. Currently, there are 14 watchtowers still standing, but during its prime, there were over 72 towers, with the highest being over 70 meters tall. The towers were built as a result of competing families who wanted to build the tallest and most grand tower. Can't imagine how it must have looked like back then. It was the Manhattan of the Middle Ages. It was so fun to walk through the city. I mean, you literally feel like you're going back in time. San Gimignano flourished as a city until 1348 when the plague of Black Death struck the town, which resulted in killing over half the population. San Gimignano's medieval vibe has been untouched throughout time, and it's become one of the most popular medieval locations in all of Italy. Afterwards, we're going to visit the nearby city of Siena. Located about a 40-minute drive from San Gimignano, it's built upon 3 hills, with its central feature being the Piazza del Campo. Now, twice a year, the square hosts the wild Palio di Siena horse race around the edge of the piazza, and I would love to see that one day. Now, another one of my favorite features of the city is the Duomo di Siena. It's a visually stunning church that was completed all the way back in 1246. The interior blew my mind with its black and white pillars and endless artwork, and I couldn't recommend Siena enough. You're gonna fall in love with this medieval city. Now, right in between Siena and San Gimignano is another really cool medieval town called Monteriggioni. It's one of the best medieval walled fortresses I've seen. It was built all the way back in 1219 by the people of Siena to act as a front line in the wars against Florence. Afterwards, we're going to explore the region of Val d'Orcia. Now, when you think of Tuscany, this is what you'll probably imagine: lush, rolling hills, perfectly aligned cypress trees, and those picturesque hilltop towns. This is easily one of the most scenic parts of Tuscany. Now, Val d'Orcia starts in the hills of South Siena and extends to Monte Amiata. Now, one of my favorite towns in Val d'Orcia is Pienza. Now, located about an hour's drive from Siena, Pienza is a picture-perfect town built upon a hill. I just love how the city overlooks all the surrounding landscapes. One really cool place right below the city is where the iconic shot of Gladiator was filmed. I just remember watching that movie and thinking how cool it would be to explore Tuscany. Now, just 20 minutes from Pienza is the town of Montepulciano. Built high atop a limestone ridge, this medieval Renaissance town is sure to take you back in time. From 1390 to the mid-16th century, Montepulciano enjoyed a prosperous period as architects built luxury homes and Renaissance buildings. Today, it's one of the most popular towns in the region. If you're into drinking, Montepulciano is home to some of Italy's best red wines. I mean, the town is just so impressive to me. Definitely one of my favorites in Tuscany. Now, afterwards, we're going to visit the Saturnia Hot Springs. Now, located about a 3-hour drive from Florence, these are some of the coolest looking hot springs I've ever seen. The water is this milky blue color, and it drains down mineral terraces. The water is a warm 37 degrees Celsius all year round, thanks to thermal activity of a nearby volcano. When I was here, it was really packed. Granted, it was during the middle of the day, during the peak of summer. I'd say if you want to avoid the crowds, I'd recommend coming to the hot springs super early in the morning or during the off season in spring or autumn. Nonetheless, it's still fun to be there. The water felt so good, and I couldn't believe the turquoise blue color. Such an incredible spot you gotta visit if you're in Tuscany. Afterwards, we're going to visit the nearby town of Pitilignano. Now, located about a 30-minute drive from Saturnia, Pitilignano is a historic city perched upon a volcanic rock. It's believed that the area around Pitilignano was inhabited during Etruscan times, and in the 1600s, the town started to grow a large Jewish presence as some Jews fled from persecution in Rome. Today, Pitilignano is a quaint town. I just love how it's built upon those cliffs. Such a sight to see. One fascinating place in Tuscany is the Carrara marble quarries, located in the Apuan Alps. More marble has been produced here than anywhere on the planet, and it's where the marble used for Michelangelo's David came from. Now, afterwards, we're going to go visit the famous town of Pisa. Now, located about an hour's drive from Florence, Pisa is known worldwide for its leaning tower. The tower is over 55 meters tall and has a lean of nearly 4 degrees. The tower was completed all the way back in 1372. The lean is caused by an unstable foundation that has been a problem ever since it's been constructed. I'm just impressed that they've been able to keep it from falling over all these years. It's definitely a wonder of the world, and you gotta witness it at least once in your life. For our final destination, we're gonna visit the iconic city of Florence. I have to say that Florence is my favorite city in all of Italy. It's considered to be the birthplace of the Renaissance, and it was the most important political, cultural, and economical city in Europe and the world during that time. The history of this city is endless, and without its influence, our world would probably be very different today. Now, one thing that makes Florence magical is that almost the entire city is made up of medieval buildings, which really transports you back in time. One of the most impressive sights in Florence is the Duomo. And when you look at it, you just can't believe how big it is. It was completed in 1436, and it just amazes me that they were able to engineer such a big dome so long ago. The people of Florence sure dreamt big. The Ponte Vecchio Bridge is another historic site. It's where the famous poet Dante encountered his love Beatrice, and also was the only bridge on the Arno River that wasn't destroyed in World War II. The Palazzo Vecchio is another site you gotta see. Now, to get the best view of all Florence, I recommend you go to the Piazzale Michelangelo. I mean, I just can't say enough good things about Florence. You're gonna fall in love with this enchanting city. Well, that is it for my Italy Top 100. Let me know in the comments below where your favorite place in Italy is. If you want to feel relaxed, I have a relaxation channel where I post hour-long films to bring some peace and nature in your life. I did a video on Italy that I think you'll enjoy. You can find me on TikTok and Instagram at shirley.films. It's Ryan, and we will see you later.